Richard Tromans here again, Artificial Lawyer TV. Today we're doing another product walkthrough. We're looking at Opus 2 and we're looking at some particular functionality that it's offering. To tell us more about it is Mark Woods. Hey Mark, good to have you on the show.
Hey Richard, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So tell us a bit more about it. Off camera, you were just explaining that it's about the ability of Opus 2 to analyze large groups of documents and also individual documents. Just in fact, take it away.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through Opus 2's AI functionality. And really, when it comes to AI, what Opus 2 has decided to do is to sort of supplement all the workflows that people were already doing within our platform. So people have been using Opus 2 for a long time to sort of make sense and prepare the case strategy when they're working on a piece of litigation. And that involves things like creating character profiles and organization profiles. It also involves in building out chronologies for litigation matters. And what we've tried to do is to use the AI in a really smart way to sort of supplement and help those workflows go a lot smoother. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the different pieces of functionality when it comes to the AI. You know, you've always been able to sort of put in all of your important or hot documents in Opus 2 and develop stories around them. Now we're going to show how you might be able to use AI to make that work a lot easier. So the first sort of fictitious scenario that I'm going to walk through is I'm a lawyer and I'm working towards taking a deposition for a person named Alexis Hughes. And, you know, quite often we find ourselves where we have groups of documents and we're working through those groups of documents and we're doing things like preparing deposition outlines. So that's the scenario that we're walking through. So I'm in functionality that we call Workbench, and that is just a set of documents that I can now use AI to help me do certain things. And really that can kind of be split into a couple of different workflows. The way that we like to think about it is, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to use the AI to look at that set of documents, and we're going to do things to extract what we call the entities in those documents. And really what we're worried about is, you know, what are the events that are mentioned in that document? Who are the people that are mentioned in those documents? And who are the organizations mentioned in those documents? And the second piece of functionality, which I'll show here in just a moment, is I can actually run my own queries or prompts against that set of documents. So that's the first thing here. So if I were a lawyer and I was working towards a deposition, probably the first thing that I would do is I would take a look at who are all the people that are mentioned in this set of documents and where are they mentioned in the documents. So in this case, you know, I can extract all of the folks. You'll notice that there are several people. Some people are mentioned in more than one source, for example. And in particular, I'm taking the deposition of Alexis Hughes, and I can see and start gaining insight into, you know, where Alexis Hughes is mentioned in those documents. For example, I can tell that she is actually mentioned in a few different sets of documents, and I can see that in some documents her name is spelled slightly different, here with a U, here with the I. And if I really wanted to zone in and go into those documents, I can simply click on her name, and then I can start pulling up those documents and walking through them and seeing exactly where Alexis Hughes is mentioned so that I can get a sense of, you know, are these documents that I actually want to use and prepare and use as exhibits in that deposition, or are they not? I can also start getting a sense of who are the organizations mentioned in these documents. And again, where are those organizations mentioned? You can also notice here that I can start grouping these extracted entities into categories. Are things, for example, not relevant? Are they relevant? I can even use this functionality that I'm showing you right now if I weren't just, you know, preparing for a deposition and I was building out character and organization profiles. I could actually start adding these as organization profiles or as characters, creating character profiles with just a couple of clicks of a button. The next thing that I would probably do if I were preparing for this deposition is I would want to get a sense of what are all the different events that had happened in this deposition. So you'll notice that the AI will automatically look across a set of documents. It will extract those events. I can get a sense of, when were memos sent, when were emails sent. There's different ways that I can sort this information as well. And just like those character and organization profiles, I can use the built-in functionality here to select things that are important, mark them as relevant, and go ahead and add all those things to the chronology with a couple of clicks of a button as well. And this is the process that we call entity extraction. So we're going to take that set of documents, we're going to automatically look for all the events, all the people, all the organizations, and you'll notice that that all happened without me actually entering a prompt or any kind of query. That's automatically done for everybody working on a set of documents. But let's take it a step further and let's talk through sort of the workflow that I would probably do if I were a lawyer. I probably want some help to help me build out, for example, an outline for this deposition that I'm going to take. So I've actually got a little prompt that I built out right before we hopped on the call. It's important when you're running a query within Opus 2 to, give it the basic context that you would give if you were working with other AI systems. So for example, in this query, I said, I'm a lawyer. I told the AI who I'm representing, and I told the AI what kind of action I'm representing that company in. So this is in a breach of contract action. And I've given the AI the background of exactly what the task I'm working on is. I'll be deposing Alexis Hughes, and please prepare a list of questions I could ask. Now, I could have stopped there with the prompt, but I like to get a sense of, why the AI does certain things. So what I've also asked is for each question, specifically state the rationale for why you want that question or why you would include that question on the list. And then I click go. And what it's going to do is it's going to take my set of instructions and it's going to follow that set of instructions, but it's going to bring in context from across all of the documents that are within this group of documents that I'm asking this question based on. And I think the benefit here is that I don't expect necessarily the AI to come out with a perfect outline that I would ultimately end up using as a lawyer going into a deposition. But it's a good first draft and gives me a sense of, what are the important topics in this set of documents so that I can then turn around and refine that. So this, will list out the questions, and you'll notice that for each question that it lists out, it's going to give me the context for basically why that question was included so that I can understand, where that question has its basis within the text of the document itself. And I can now, continue to run additional queries if I want to, about a particular topic, for example. So if the supply of micro widgets is a really important topic, I might now come in and ask another question or run another prompt to hone in on particular topics and to continue to build out. And you can do all kinds of prompts or queries within the context of this workbench functionality. So instead of asking it to, build out a deposition outline, what I might ask it to do is, to prepare a timeline related to a particular contract or purchase order. And this should give you a sense of how can you use Opus 2's AI functionality to sort of take a set of documents and then find out what the most important aspects of those documents are, including what are the events, who are the people, who are the organizations, and then I can use the context or the knowledge that I have about this case to run my own questions or queries on that set of documents. But in this, scenario, what's going to end up happening is I'm eventually going to get a deposition transcript back. And another huge part of the Opus 2's AI functionality is how can I turn around and use that AI to help me make sense of particular documents, for example, the workflows that I might be doing with a deposition transcript. So I'll just go into a deposition transcript and kind of show that functionality as well. So table stakes, Opus 2 has been, really good when it comes to the workflows that surround deposition transcripts forever. You can link exhibits, you can sync video files, and you've been able to do that for a long time within Opus 2's functionality. But when I have the AI functionality built in, what I'll have is I'll have an AI button that appears on this left-hand column within this deposition transcript. And the same basic premise when we talked about multiple documents also happens within the context of a single document. we're going to do a set of analysis automatically without me having to run any kind of prompts or queries on this document. And it's going to be as simple for me as a person looking at this deposition transcript as in selecting a tab and choosing from a drop-down menu. So I think the lowest of low-hanging fruit when it comes to legal generative AI is summarization for documents. So we're going to help you summarize deposition transcripts. We can also do some of these workflows on non-transcript documents. But for deposition transcripts in particular, what we do is we generate 5 different summary types. So I might want a general summary, or I might want a narrative summary. And if I were just getting this deposition transcript in and I wasn't the one that attended this actual deposition as the attorney that was taking it or defending it, I would probably click through all of these different tabs to get a sense of what the testimony was about. I'm a particular fan of the topical summary because instead of, giving me a generic summary or a narrative summary, it's going to break down what that person testified about from a topical perspective, and it's going to do it in number and bullet point format. What you'll notice is that for every piece of analysis that's done by the generative AI system, we're going to provide the ability for the end user to actually figure out where that came from within the context of the transcript by using these references, so that I can then click through and follow my ethical duties and know whether this generative AI analysis is accurate or not when it comes to what the actual testimony was. If I want to get this information out of Opus 2, it's really easy. I can download this information into a Word doc. I can put it into my clipboard and copy and paste it into some other document, maybe if I'm working on it, so that you can then take that analysis. You can also use Opus 2's baked in functionality, and I can automatically highlight things and annotate, designate portions of the deposition as well. But I'm now using the generative AI to help me find what the most important aspects are. In addition to summarization, we'll also do a set of transcript analysis on deposition transcripts. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to use the AI to automatically look for inconsistent testimony so that you can figure out whether that person said something within the context of that deposition that contradicted something else that they said in that same deposition transcript. We'll also do what we call sentiment analysis, which is going to look through the transcript and try to find examples of strong emotional testimony. Is that person using language that suggests that they're being fearful, angry, or anxious? And then we'll also do what we call lines of inquiry. And what it's going to do is it's going to look through that transcript. It's going to find things that might be evasive, contradictory, not super clear. And it's going to lay out what those topics are. And it's going to give you, the lawyer or legal professional looking at this transcript, suggested questions that you might want to either prepare that witness to handle when they get in front of another person that's going to question them if they're your witness, or questions that you might consider asking to help clarify pieces of testimony or hone in on things that might be apt to be questioned because they weren't super clear in that first piece of testimony that they gave. And then in the document analysis tab, what we're going to do is we're going to start hitting on some of those other workflows that we kind of showed when we were looking at the workbench functionality. So first of all, we'll generate 10 key points related to the deposition transcript, but we'll also extract events, people, and organizations, again, that I can actually click on, go to, see where they're mentioned in the deposition transcript, and then I can automatically do things like build out organization and character profiles, and we'll use generative AI to help with some of the data entry instead of those things having to be typed from scratch. And then the final thing that I want to show you today is the query functionality. So just like I could query sets of documents, I can also ask questions about single documents. So I might ask something like, what testimony did Sally give about contracts? And what this is going to do is it's going to take my question or the prompt that I ran, and it's going to take that with the entire context of the transcript, and it's going to give me a response. And this particular example, I think, shows why generative AI searching is probably the future when you compare it to just pure keyword searching. So I asked specifically about contracts, but conceptually, contracts can be called many different things, as we know as legal professionals. So what you'll notice is that it gave me responses about formal purchase agreements. It tells me about purchase orders. It'll even talk about letters or emails because it knows from a generative AI perspective, in the fact that it was trained on a lot of data, this model that we're using, that a contract might be called different things. And in fact, if I actually search for the word contract in this particular deposition transcript, I'll notice that that word actually doesn't appear. So I think that could be a really useful thing from a query perspective. And honestly, Richard, that's what I wanted to show. Hopefully, this gives a really good idea of how you can use Opus 2's AI functionality to sort of make sense of groups of documents, but you can also hone in on particular documents as well. Do you
Gotcha.
have any
Thank you.
questions?
Very, very comprehensive. Just a couple of quick questions at the end. So if people are looking at this and they like it, I mean, will this come with Opus 2 in general? So if you have any type of Opus 2 account, this will come along.
So you can certainly purchase the AI functionality with Opus 2 if you're already an Opus 2 customer. But we don't. It's not like you would buy just the AI functionality. You would buy sort of the core functionality that comes with Opus 2, so the ability to upload documents, annotate documents, do things like deposition designations, things like that. And the AI functionality is an add-on to that. But it's yeah, I think that probably answers your question.
Gotcha. Fantastic. And just one last thing, because obviously people will be working with their own databases and so forth. I mean, this will connect to all the main DMS companies out there, I guess.
So we have a built-in integration with Relativity, which is the main e-discovery provider. That's usually the most important connection when it comes to getting sort of hot or the most important documents into a program like Opus 2. We do have an API, so connections can also be built out to document management systems as well.
Fantastic. And this is available now as we speak. People can get hold of this right away.
Absolutely. All the functionality that I've shown today, our customers are already using today to help them make sense of their documents in Opus 2.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. And I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about Opus 2 and its AI productivity tools in the near future. Thank you very much.